Cedarburg is a very historic place because it was used for exchange of goods, encountering different people, and for exploring good places for farming and for constructing buildings. For these reasons, Cedarburg has become one of the most historic places in Wisconsin. Some could argue that it is the most historic place.
This is Founders Park. You may not realize what this park actually is. You may not even know this park even exists. This park is actually a cemetery. This cemetery is actually where all the founders of Cedarburg were buried, hence the name Founders Park. People like Ludwig Groth and all of his kids were buried here. Rumor has it it's haunted.
Well, my three greats or four greats, I'm not sure which. Grandfather originally settled Cedarburg, and that was the Gross.
Definitely the Krieger name is part of the settling of Cedarburg.
Did you know that this small town called Hamilton was built before Cedarburg? It eventually expanded and became part of Cedarburg.
It was settled by Irish immigrants and originally named New Dublin. In 1847, it was renamed after William S. Hamilton. In 1848, it was the first stagecoach stop between Milwaukee and Green Bay. This is how Ludwig Groth found and explored this new area to start a new town. While exploring, he saw there were two major rivers that eventually became very important to the founding of Cedarburg. These were Cedar Creek and Milwaukee River.
When the Groth brothers came here, they followed the waterways and they followed Cedar Creek. And so they settled around Cedar Creek, and of course the creek runs right through Hamilton. When the Irish came, they named it Dublin. And then when the railroad was built and came through Cedarburg, most of the people then settled, of course, closer to the railroad track because that was their transportation. And that's how then Cedarburg grew west of Hamilton.
Later, Ludwig Groth sold properties to two wise investors named Frederick Hilgen and William Schroeder in 1848. Some of the original buildings remain in Hamilton. Most were built by Edward H. Jansen. This Hamilton Turner Hall building is a fieldstone building. It was constructed by farmers and merchants in 1867. It is now on the end of Hamilton Road, right where Green Bay Road and Hamilton Road connect. It is actually the last remaining Turner Hall building of its type in the USA. It served as a meeting place and a gymnasium. It later became a shoe factory and later a cider mill. It was entered into the National Register of Historical Places on July 1st, 1976, and was donated to the Town of Cedarburg Landmark Preservation Society by Adelaide B. Miller.
This is the Concordia Mill. This is the exact place where Cedarburg got its name. Fred August Leaning had a cabin here that he called Cedarburg. Cedarburg means Castle of Cedar.
Later, the founders decided to call the town Cedarburg. This is one of the oldest buildings in Cedarburg too. It was built around the same time as Turner Hall. It was built in 1853 by Edward Jansen again and William Gates, and is part of Hamilton. The Concordia Mill was used to make grain and flour. This is used for making food like bread. It is located on Green Bay Road.
This is the house I grew up in on Green Bay Road. It was first settled by Edward Jansen, the person that helped build Turner Hall, Concordia Mill, and Hamilton in general.
This house is very historical to Cedarburg. This is the house that the Kruger family grew up in. The Kruger family are part of the reason why Cedarburg is what it is today.
My father and his brother created the Krieger Dairy, which they delivered milk to the residents of Cedarburg for many years with horse and carriage.
The Kruger family built a blacksmith shop called Kruger Blacksmith Shop. It was built in the late 1840s. These buildings are limestone ovens. These ovens are way bigger than the ones you use today. These are also made of stone. These were built a long time ago. They have been here for over 100 years. They were the only limestone ovens in Cedarburg. The ovens were used for making limestone. The limestone was for building houses and most buildings back then. They are very historical to Cedarburg. You can find them at Limekiln Park. In transition from Hamilton to Cedarburg, Frederick Hilgen and William Schroeder first needed to control Cedar Creek. They did this by putting 5 dams on it. Then they could harness the power of the river, and they were able to build a more advanced, better, and bigger grist mill. The Cedarburg Grist Mill was the first building in Cedarburg. It was built in 1855 on Columbia Road. It is built by Frederick Hilgen and William Schroeder. It was made out of limestone. It is a big 5-story building. Rumor has it the 5th floor is haunted too. The next big project was to build a woolen mill. At the time, it was the biggest woolen mill west of Philadelphia and employed 100 men and women at their prime. This mill was used for making clothes for Cedarburgians and other places nearby. There was also a bridge built in 1870 that crossed Cedar Creek. This is now called Bridge Street and allowed the woolen mill to have buildings on both sides of the creek.
This building is now called Cedar Creek Settlement. It attracts many tourists for its shopping, wine, and restaurants.
In conclusion, Cedarburg is a very historic place, starting with the exploration of Ludwig Roth for finding a place to settle and having him encounter the visionaries of Frederick Hilgen and William Schroeder, resulted in an environment of exchange and prosperous business.
Cedarburg is a true treasure, and I love living here.